good evening, or good morning, or good night, or wherever you are watching this, or around the great world that we live in. Welcome to Dermot and Phillip's political podcast. And tonight we're delighted again to have a special guest, Ronan Mcgreevy. Ronan is a celebrated author with books including Sean Lemass, The Lost Memoir, Great Hatred, The Assassination of Field Marshal Sir Henry Wilson MP, and Wherever the Firing Line Extends, Ireland and the Flanders in the First World War, and The Kidnapping with Tommy Conlon, the Don Tidy kidnapping in Ballinamore back in the 1980s. And Ronan, it's great to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, Philip.
And we're going to kick off with something that happened, well, I suppose you could say it's been happening for the last few weeks and finally came to fruition this week, is the upcoming resignation of Keir Starmer as Labour leader and Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So had he no choice? Did he have to go?
He could have topped it out, but obviously, somebody says the first rule in politics is to be able to count, and he didn't have the support of his cabinet. That's the bottom line. I don't think he was doing badly as British Prime Minister. I think what Britain needed was a time of calm, even boring sort of technocratic leadership, but clearly that's not how his party saw it. They clearly think that they're hemorrhaging support to reform on one side and the Green Party on the other. But, he's barely in the job 2 years, and it's we'll now have the seventh British Prime Minister in 10 years since Brexit. And, it's a very depressing scenario when you think about it. And you have to wonder, I mean, I think that some people say that Britain's ungovernable. I'm not sure about that. What it does say is that there's far too much power and far too much emphasis on who the Prime Minister is, and not enough emphasis on what he or she does in office. And that's the most important thing. It actually really doesn't matter who the British Prime Minister is. It might matter to the chattering classes and the media in the UK. What matters is how is the ordinary lives of people being affected by whoever is in power, And it's clear to me that, Brexit has had a real bad drag on the British economy. There's a huge amount of problems in Britain. The government needs money to fix it. They can't tax their way out of it. They can attempt to tax their way out of it. They can borrow money, or they can allow the economy to grow. But either way, it's a bit of a poison chalice, I believe. And I think history will be kind to Keir Starmer. Actually, I was quite a fan of his, but the Labour Party's now made its choice, and just have to see where it goes from here.
I'm just thinking, I mean, he seems to be a genuinely nice fella, and maybe nice fellas don't go places in politics; they don't last too long. And
he comes across that way, all right. But there's a lot in the Labour Party will say that there's quite a lot of Machiavellian characters around him. One of our own, was Morgan Mcgreevy, and Starmer's made mistakes. There's no doubt about it. Of course, the Mandelson appointment was a disaster and totally unnecessary, but. Generally speaking, yeah, I think he was a decent man. I think he when you look at some of the previous incumbents in this office in recent years, Liz Truss and Boris Johnson come to mind. He struck me as being an honourable man, but it was not enough, it appears, anymore. Britain is looking for a saviour as Prime Minister, and I think I just don't think they're going to find one.
But I know Labour got in with an absolutely massive majority there 2 years ago, and I suppose he thought he's in for the long run there. But I suppose the first thing he went and did was cut the fuel allowances to the elderly in England.
Yeah,
which is really not the thing to do when your first few months in office. He got off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, probably. But I suppose he would have said that if you're going to make up unpopular decisions, make them when you have the political capital to do it. You see, the thing is as well, Philip, that, you're talking about that he had a massive majority. Yeah, he had a massive majority in terms of seats, but it's absolutely perverse that I think he got about, 32% of the electoral vote and 60% of the seats. Like, it's an insane political system. Labour really doesn't have a mandate from the British people to govern, and that's been the problem for years and years and years. The first past the post system is ridiculous. The proper government in Britain would have been a sort of progressive government of Labour, Greens, and the Liberal Party, but obviously that wasn't going to happen. Turkeys don't vote for Christmas either. The two big parties are not going to vote to change the electoral system. But the best description I heard of it is that it's a loveless majority. In other words, he did get a majority, but like it wasn't like in '97 when Blair got in, when there was genuine enthusiasm, a genuine feeling that, Britain was going to turn the corner. I just think. I think he got in by default, and he's kind of leaving by default as well.
And that brings me around to my next subject about it. Nigel Farage was on TV there during the week, stating that calling for a general election. That why should the members of the Labour Party have the sway over who becomes Prime Minister of Great Britain?
Because you don't elect a Prime Minister, you elect a government. I mean, this is just such a stupid statement to make. When you are electing, and it's the same in Ireland. If a Taoiseach resigns, you elect the party, you elect a government. You don't elect a Prime Minister. Neither Britain or Ireland has a presidential style of government, although Britain is going that way with this, as I said to you, the fixation on who the Prime Minister is to me, it's very detrimental to the general sort of political health of Britain. So I think he's talking nonsense. And you know what? He is so screwed at the moment. I mean, this £5 million that he got from this crypto billionaire in Thailand, it's just shocking. I mean, it really is a paragon of corruption, and I do think that Trump used to say that he could, as you say, he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and still get elected. I'm not sure that's the same with reform. This is going to follow him like a bad smell for the next couple of years, and I think it's going to be a dead weight on reform. I think it is, and I also think it's one of the reasons why reform lost that Makerfield by-election so heavily.
I know that I was watching the BBC interviewing him there when he brought up that suggestion about the general election, and the interviewer, a very good girl, I don't know what her name was, but she kept pressing him on the $5 million, and he kept saying, "None of your business." And unlike the American journalists who would have left it at that when questioning Donald Trump, she kept at him, and she kept at him and at him and at him, and he was getting more ratty, saying it's none of your business, it's immaterial. But it's not immaterial, she said back to him. So in the end, it looks, you're dead right. I think that $5 million is going to be the rope that hangs him in the years to come. And
it's interesting as well. He says that he got that money before he was elected. Yeah. That's true. But he got that money just before he declared his candidature in the 24 general elections. Remember that he agreed to, he was going to stand in Clacton-on-Sea, right? So this crypto billionaire must have had some inside track in relation to that. I mean, nobody gives £5 million to somebody for their security. It's absolute nonsense. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions that has not been asked of Farage, well, how are you spending that money on security? Like, where is it going? And he's not answering it. He won't say what he's spending the money on. I mean, if it's for his security, he must already be spending the money.
He wouldn't answer that question to her. She asked him that as well.
Yeah. And so did a lot of others. Yeah.
That will put me in danger if I answered that question, But it's sort of, I think actually, isn't it 12 months before candidacy you have to declare? Things. So he's in the wrong no matter what he says,
It doesn't matter whether he won't get cleared, but it doesn't really matter. The scale of this gift is just unprecedented in British politics. It's really, really disgraceful. And I mean, and you see the trouble with reform is that, I know they're trying to broaden their appeal and trying to build up a political team behind him. The reality is that for a lot of people, reform is Nigel Farage, and if he goes, it's basically decapitating the whole party, So these are very dangerous times for reform at the moment. I mean, they were riding high, and people were talking about them as the next government in Britain. I'm not so sure about that anymore. I really don't. I think this is going to have a really seriously detrimental impact on their fortunes.
And I think the people of Clacton that elected him as MP have hardly seen him since he was been elected. I think he spent more time in Washington than he has in Clacton. I don't
Yeah,
think
but
he's
this is
carried out a constituency. The meetings that they have.
yeah. No, he
Town
doesn't. He
hall.
doesn't do. He doesn't do. He doesn't do clinics. He's never. He's very rarely in the House of Commons to ask leaders questions. And then he has the temerity to tell people that working from home is ridiculous and that people should be in their place of work. Well, he could be there himself. The guy's a grifter. He's an absolute grifter, and I just think, whatever you think about his politics and his political campaign, he himself is really, really damaged goods. And it's not, sometimes when we talk about these things, we kind of do it on the basis that it's wishful thinking on our part. But I really do believe that this is going to have a really dead impact on him, on his entire party going forward.
He's piggybacking on Donald Trump a lot as well. Donald Trump, is always singing his praises, and that brings us on to our next subject: Donald Trump and what's happening in Iran. And
Yeah.
Generally, has he shot himself in the foot again?
Well, you know what? I don't think so, because I think that people are just so glad this bloody war is over, and that there's going to be some kind of restoration of sort of the status quo, and people can go back in America to cheap gas again, and people in Europe can do the same thing. I think he's really, really damaged as a result of this. But, we've seen it before. Americans only really care about these sort of foreign adventures when it hurts their pocket, right? So when things go back to normal, in terms of prices at the pump going down, I think he'll go back to his sort of solid base, or whatever it is, the MAGA base. But certainly, he has fallen out a lot with his own party. There was a big shouting match yesterday, apparently, when one of his senators, John Cassidy, when Trump told him to sit down, they had a stand-up shouting match over the Iran war. Trump was warned by his own party that if he wants to go back to this war again, he'll have to get congressional approval. And of course, the midterm elections are coming barreling down the tracks. So, yeah, I mean, the thing about it is he's already damaged goods with most people. The question is he damaged goods with his base? Yeah. That's what really matters. And I don't know the answer to that question. I just think people are just profoundly relieved that this stupid war is over.
I think that his frequent references, the war is over, about 37 or 38 times he said that. The war is not over. And what strikes me as being totally idiotic. I mean, a country like America has got very highly qualified Secret Service guys, that can go and negotiate peace treaties with all these different countries. And he sends his son-in-law and a real estate agent. I mean, that is not being serious. That is not being serious.
It's the level of incompetence that's involved in all of this that is really, really shocking. I mean, remember, we don't have a peace agreement yet. What we have is a memorandum of understanding, which is supposed to last 60 days, which is very, very favorable to the Iranians, actually. I mean, you've got, there's going to be a $300 billion reconstruction fund now. Trump says Americans aren't going to pay for this, but I don't know where they're going to get all of that money from. They've already lifted sanctions on Iran, and essentially there's a few other bits and pieces that still have to be ironed out. But the Strait of Hormuz is open at the moment, albeit not to the same extent that it was. But we're back to it in 60 days. So we're back to the psychodrama again. You can be damn sure in 2 months this won't be resolved. The Iranians will keep holding Trump's feet to the fire. It'll be extended and extended and extended, and that's the way it's going to go.
I think it's rather ironic or maybe pathetic that Trump blowing that the Straits of Hormuz are open. they were open before he started this, and there was no problem. There was no fees being paid. There was no tariffs or being paid. So, I mean, and it's costing $1 billion a day, the American taxpayer, to keep this war on the go. So surely there's got to be a day of reckoning for that come the midterms or come the
absolutely.
Next,
I mean, I mean, when you think about the amount of money that was spent on this ridiculous war, which is actually only showing up American weaknesses. You can have all the aircraft carriers that you want and all the firepower that you want, but when you're facing a country like Iran that's absolutely huge, where they're able to burrow underground, there's a limit to American overreach here. But there is one good thing that I think has come out of this war, and it is a severing, if I could put it that as strongly as that, between Trump and Israel. Mm-hmm. And there was a meeting. I would encourage your viewers there to read an article in the New York Times last week, very well sourced, in which Trump had a meeting with Netanyahu and told him to straight up that the whole world hated Israel, that Trump was sick of Netanyahu, the whole world is sick of Netanyahu, and that he'd want to watch his step going forward. And then that was followed up by J.D. Vance putting the boot into Israel as well, saying that the United States was the only ally Israel had left in the world, and that it didn't wasn't a good idea for his cabinet ministers to be slagging off Trump, given the dependency that Israel has on the United States. And generally speaking, people are the political commentators are saying that the real losers of this war has been Israel, because they completely miscalculated what was going on. They thought they inveigled Trump into this disastrous war by telling him that the decapitation strategy will be enough to topple the Iranian regime. That didn't happen, and I think that Trump feels that he's been played by Netanyahu. So I don't see any way back for Israel under this current Trump regime. So there's a few bright spots in all of this. Now, it hasn't stopped Israel continuing to attack Hezbollah in Lebanon, killing loads and loads and loads of civilians. I mean, I actually don't agree with Trump much, but when he said, I don't see why you have to flatten a whole building to take out 3 or 4 terrorists.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I think he was speaking for the whole world there. I think that Trump is the one American politician that can just tell the Israelis to go screw themselves, and there will be no consequences for it. So I think that I think what has happened as a result of this war, that Israel is more isolated in the world than at any time in my lifetime.
Isn't it correct that there are Israeli elections coming up shortly?
Yeah.
That Netanyahu is under severe pressure. He's underwater in the polls in Israel, and will possibly end up as a war criminal before the
and you could end up in jail in Israel as well. So I mean, everything that's happening in Israel now is with one eye on the elections. When you have Smotrich abusing the Gaza flotilla, when he's wearing a noose as a badge, all of that stuff is just trying to. It's all electioneering, and I think the whole world is sick to the back teeth of Israeli internal politics playing out like this on the world stage. Now, in fairness to Israel, I mean, there has to be. The Iranians have insisted on a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel, and I think both of those entities need to stop fighting. I know again that's what Trump wants, but the Israelis are still firing and killing people in Lebanon, and I think the whole world is fed up with that.
I've just picked up on. I don't know if you've probably heard this new book has come out, Under Siege by Maggie Haberman. And
yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah,
yeah, I've actually got it on audiobooks at the moment, so I've listened to about half an hour of it, and that's only really past the prologue and the chapter one, and I'm scared stiff already. If what they're saying is true, then what's going on in America? It's incredible. What's going on
I
in the
must
White
get that
House?
book. I must get that book. Yeah,
It seems to be total chaos, screaming matches. It goes down even as far to say they have to search the rubbish every evening to make sure he hasn't thrown the silverware out with his Big Mac packets, and that there's been secret conferences in the inner sanctum that Trump was not invited to discuss how they can rein him in and make sure that he's got a better public perception of him. So it's scary stuff. It really is. I mean, it's. I was driving the car and listening to it. I'll tell you one thing. I nearly crashed the car at one stage. Some of the stuff that was coming out on it, But it's a good read. And if it's true, it's scary. If it's not true, well, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I think she was the one, and she also said, I think that Trump wouldn't mind if he was the last president of the United States. That he doesn't care for democracy or any of that kind of stuff.
He's going the right way about it.
Well, yeah, he is. Yeah, and I think it was her story as well about the Netanyahu meeting, and I'm just trying to pull it up here because it's just incredible. That's what Trump said to Netanyahu last week, and absolutely well deserved. Actually, one of the things that he did say was he actually had his son-in-law Jared Kushner and he had Steve Witkoff on the phone, and he said, "I have two Jews here beside me, and even they're sick of you." So I mean that must really must have gone to the quick with Netanyahu, and it's one of the reasons as well why Netanyahu is floundering in the polls, is that a lot of Israelis are now seeing what the rest of the world is seeing, that he's regarded as a war criminal, but even strategically from his own point of view, he's failed. Yeah. He's failed to get rid of the Iranian regime. He has brought a world of opprobrium on Gaza. The Israeli troops are still involved in fighting in Lebanon. The Israeli people are sick and tired of the war as well, and I don't feel sorry for them, but that's the way it goes. So I just think that what do you say? Every cloud is a silver lining,
Yeah, I think Netanyahu must have thought all his Christmases, or the Jewish equivalent thereof, had come at once whenever Trump became president. Because he tried it with Obama to take on Iran. He tried it with Biden, and they both told him basically take a hike. And then he came to Trump, and who willingly up to now, or most of the time, has done his bidding. And it just shows you that was a marriage that was never going to last.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is as well is that the next president of the United States, if it's J.D. Vance, for instance, he's a very, very strong Israel skeptic at this stage, or Marco Rubio, and then forget about a Democrat being on the side of Israel. I mean, you had a situation where a couple of Mandani backed candidates won their primaries in New York State against Israel firsters. So the Democratic Party, every primary in the Democratic Party, every candidate has been asked to account for the money they're getting from AIPAC, the sort of Israel lobby group in the States. So I think the tide is completely turned. I think Israel has completely overreached itself. And it's been able to do that with impunity for decades. But I think now that the United States, and particularly Trump, has turned on Israel, they're in a very isolated position.
Just to finish off on the Donald Trump segment, come November, bloodbath for the Republicans?
Well, let's not confuse wishful thinking with what's going to happen. I don't know, to be honest. In fact, it would have been better, of course, for the Democrat candidates if the war was still going on. So, well, hopefully, they're certainly going to take back the House of Representatives. As far as I'm aware, that's a given. It's whether they can take the Senate as well, and if they have both houses of the of Congress, then you're going to be in impeachment territory for a lot of
That's true.
Trump's henchmen,
Yeah. And right, we're just going to next subject, briefly talk about the weather. Now, I'm just looking, by the way, this is an outside broadcast.
Yeah. In Leitrim.
From Cloom, County Leitrim, the centre of the universe. And it's looking like we're going to have thunder soon. So if I have to move inside shortly. But the weather has been pretty amazing, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, it has. It's been absolutely great. And, I was writing a piece there for the Irish Times today about previous great summers. Now, I've only a very vague recollection of 76, but I remember 95 well. And then everybody talked about it being good weather, right? When it was hot and warm and sunny during the summer, it was good weather. Now we have all of these, climate doomsters telling us every time we have a heat wave that no, I am not trying to denigrate the fact that climate change is real, but you can't have it both ways. You can't fix, or you can't say that every time there's a heat wave it's because of climate change, because people have short memories. We had a very cool May as well, and we had quite a few cool days in June as well. I remember saying to a friend last week, I said I heard rumors that it's June, so let's just enjoy it for what it is. It's not going to last. I think it's breaking tomorrow, but climate change, I know people get it in the neck every time this happens, but let's just enjoy the good weather for what it is, because we're normal service gets resumed next week, and then nobody's going to attribute that to climate change.
Well, I remember two of the last huge events weather-wise. One, when I was very young, was in 1963 with the Great Freeze. Cold went on to that May.
Yeah.
And then I remember 1976 because I was working in the bank at the time, and there was a bank strike. So we got the whole summer off. It was great.
Yeah, good man, yeah.
Anyway, that's the weather, and let's hope it stays good for a bit longer. And although I'm looking at here, I think there could be thunder down our way shortly. But anyway, we'll see. And
I'm off to Spain on Sunday, so
lovely.
So I'm going to keep it up. But I don't really like hot weather. It's just murder for me. But look, I hope people do enjoy it. I just wish some of the climate doomsters would just let this pass. It's over tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, there you go.
We'll talk about Spain and the World Cup in a moment. We just wanted to briefly mention another big news event this week, one that's been dragging on for a while, is the conviction of Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, or maybe just Geoffrey Donaldson now, on those
he's given
offences.
Yeah, it's just extraordinary, isn't it? And fair play to those two women who came out and gave evidence against him. You would think ostensibly that this man was an absolute paragon of virtue, and he used to wear his little fish, his little fish logo to show that he's a believer in Christ and stuff like that. I mean, he wore his religious Christian faith like a mink stole around his shoulders, and now he's been caught out. And it's interesting some of the stuff that's going on at the moment. I mean, in the north, there's you have the likes of Jim Allister suggesting that perhaps that the British government had compromised on Geoffrey Donaldson when he did a U-turn in relation to the sea border. So I don't know whether that's true or not. I'm just glad the guy's behind bars, and of course his wife as well. She has a lot to answer for too. So
she got away quite lightly with her medical diagnosis, didn't she?
Yeah.
But I'm sure I can't help thinking. I know it's a controversial subject. I'm not going to say too much about it, but I can't help thinking there's certainly Ian Paisley doing cartwheels at the moment in his grave over this.
Yeah, absolutely. And
what he would think of all this, Yeah,
well, his son has been fairly vocal about Geoffrey Donaldson as well. It's funny how many people say they never really liked him now that he's gone to jail, but they were happy enough to have him around the place when he was leader of the DUP,
But he was probably, one of the last people you think, if you didn't know, what to be
absolutely.
Like that. No, I mean it's this is going to sound a bit risque now, but the way I look at the DUP and the Presbyterians, I say sex is only allowed when Rangers beat Celtic. I mean it was just that type of thing, But listen, he's been found guilty of the crime. He'll do the time, which I'm sure is going to be quite a hefty sentence.
Yeah, it'll be, and as well because he because he forced these women to give evidence. I think it's fair to say that the judge he won't be getting a light sentence,
No,
and
and imagine he's going to be like a celebrity prisoner in Mcgreevy if he goes there. I mean, he'll be on solitary confinement. I mean, he would not be safe in prison. Basically, I think that'd be the best way of putting it. But anyway, that's him. Now you're in Spain of the week, so you might be there when Spain bring home the World Cup. Will you, or do you think that's going to happen?
I've hugely enjoyed the World Cup so far. I think it's been absolutely fantastic, and I know all the criticisms that are made of it. There's a lot of games that are dead rubbers at that stage, but I think football tournaments, I think the qualifying rounds of every football tournament is about the fans. Yeah. It's about the occasion. It's about the national pride. It's about the Jocks taking over Boston, even though their team has stank to high heaven. It's about. It's just been a wonderful spectacle. I think there's been, we all when we started out, we had all the stuff about the Somalian referee and so on. But actually, there's been very few incidents, very few scandals around it. Football's been good enough for the most part, but everybody knows that it's only going to start really now when the last 32 come in.
I think there have been two highlights for me recently. Was one, Cape Verde drawing with Spain, but I think the one that really tickled me last night was the Ecuador result against Germany.
Oh, what a result!
The reaction of the fans and the manager. I mean, he jumped into the stand on the equaliser.
Isn't that what it's all about?
That's what it's all about.
It kind of reminded me of when we beat Italy, and I had the good fortune to be there in 2016 in Lille. We were playing an Italian team that had nothing to play for, but the players did because he had rotated the team, and we beat them 1-0, and it was incredible. And it's been great for Ecuador. I think Cape Verde have been absolutely fantastic.
Haven't they?
And I mean, you could say, well, they got lucky against Spain, but they were terrific against Uruguay. I mean, they actually have very good players, and people forget as well. We've got an expanded World Cup. We've got all these teams in it. They would have qualified in the 32 World Cup as well, 32 team World Cup. Yeah. So I think it's been great.
Do you think that I know that if things stay the same as they are now, Ecuador's next game will be against England, which I think will be very interesting. Because I think Ecuador have been tipped by a lot of people as a dark horse. They've got some really good. I mean, I didn't realize that some of their players were. Extremely good team. And okay, they mightn't. They've let in, I think, 7 goals in the last 20 matches, something like that. Defensively brilliant, hit you on the counter attack. And let's face it, England are not pulling up any trees at the moment.
No, they were good the first day, but I'll tell you something. They showed a lack. There was a lack of penetration against Ghana. No, I thought Ghana were brilliant in that game, and people. Why would people even write off Ghana? I mean, they've been a very good team for a long time. They're big, they're strong, they're physical. They have a lot of players that play in the Premier League and play in very high divisions in Europe. So I don't know why anybody thought this was going to be a cakewalk. But I thought the way they defended against England was absolutely terrific, and you just couldn't break them down, England couldn't break them down. And Ghana could have had a penalty. And that's what it's all about, really, at that level. It's if you're playing a team that's superior to you, you can't just set up to get beat. And, they played some good counter-attacking football as well. Yeah, it's hard to know who's going to win this tournament. I don't know what you think.
I'll tell you who might win it. I'm going on the match that's going on at the moment. It's Norway 1, France 3 after 32 minutes.
Yeah, France are very good.
Dembele has got a hat-trick.
Wow.
So France are going to be hard to beat. So are Argentina.
Yeah.
And I can't see going beyond them two. But we'll see. It's been good. I mean, it's, as you say, it's only going to get good next week. Really good when the knockout stages start.
Yeah.
And we've enough of those. I mean, we've 16 matches and then 8 matches. 16 matches.
So you've got to win how many? You've got to win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Am I right?
You have 3 in the qualifiers, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 6 games.
Yeah. So I mean, look, like yourself, I've enjoyed the group stages. But what do they call it? The business end of the World Cup gets started next week. I think Spain. I would say in my view, I agree with you. I think France are the favourites. They're really, really strong looking and they're very purposeful. Then I think Argentina, yeah, they've got a chance. I wouldn't rule Brazil out. I think they've been really good. I know they were playing a lousy Scotland team. They're really good defensively. They've only conceded one goal. They have two outstanding centre halves in Marquinhos and
8 games to win the World Cup. Hang on, you're right there. 8 games. Let's see now. 3 in the rounds. Then you play 1 in the round of 32.
Yeah.
1 in the round of 16.
Yeah. Yes. 5 more.
1 in the round of 8. 1 in the round of 4, and then 2. It doesn't matter. Maybe there's 2 extra games thrown in there. Well, that's it. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. And Ronan, we're going to finish off now with something that you were heavily involved with this week.
Yeah.
Well, it says, how did you get in with Metallica?
Never thought I'd see the day, right? So it's a long story, but I'll try and give you the shortest version I can. So I'm not a music journalist, but I do occasionally write about heavy metal and rock. I've been doing interviews for the last 10 or 15 years in the Irish Times, occasionally with, mostly with metal stars, because there are very few journalists in Ireland who know or understand heavy metal like I do. And I had reached out to Gibson Guitars in about a year ago, asking for an interview with Kirk Hammett when he came over about his Greenie. This is a very famous Gibson Les Paul that was owned by Peter Green, and then because of the Irish connection by Gary Moore. And so I had that interview I had kind of forgotten about it. I assumed it was a no, but I got approached by MCD, the promoters, asking me if I was willing to do a public interview with Kirk Hammett. And, I just couldn't believe my luck here because, I've been a Metallica fan since I was like 14 or 15. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And so I could barely believe it. Like, I was you do get occasionally when you're a journalist meet famous people, but I just kind of, like it's just my job, but like I was genuinely, I wouldn't say starstruck, but I was genuinely, I play guitar myself. So most of the people I really admire in life are either footballers or guitar players, and Kirk Hammett is definitely one of them. So anyway, I got the job, and then so the day of the gig arrives. So I go into the academy and I've prepped very well for the interview. And there's a big crowd of people out waiting outside to get into the gig. It's obviously sold out in a heartbeat. So I walked into the room and then I'm kind of waiting downstairs and I have to go through 2 lines of sort of security with Metallica. And then I'm allowed into the Sanctum Sanctorum with Kirk Hammett and Rob Trujillo, the bass player, and they're kind of jamming together. And then Rob starts doing these. Kirk starts doing these exercises, and he looks up at me, and then he just goes back to the guitar, and his PA's in the room, and she says, Kirk, Ronan's here. And Kirk Hammett looks up at me and he goes, "Oh, hi, Ronan." And then he goes back to noodling the guitar again. It's like one of those sort of, teenagers when you ask them when they're in the middle of a video game and you say, "Oh, hi, your uncle's arrived." "Oh, hi." And then they go back to the game. But anyway, eventually we got his attention. But I went through the format of the interview with him, but I had a sort of an ace up my sleeve because he had mentioned to me in a pre-interview that I did with him that he had Irish roots, but he didn't know much about them. So I got onto the Epic Museum in Dublin here, the Irish Museum, the Immigrants Museum, and I was able to present him with details of his great-grandmother, Sarah Fulton, who came from the borders of Tyrone and Armagh and who left for the United States in 1910 and married Dennis Hammett, who was Kirk Hammett's great-grandfather in 1921 in Los Angeles. And he was really, I think he was really moved by that. He's a very, very wealthy rock star at this stage, but his family really had a lot of hardship, and I showed it to him. As Sarah Fulton's mother died when she was 2 or 3, and her father died when he was 17. So she was an orphan when she left for the United States at the age of 20 to visit her, to go and live with her sister in Los Angeles. Then we went on stage, and it was plain sailing from there. I mean, he's a very funny guy. The audience absolutely loved him. I could have said anything, but to me, the important thing was that he felt that the interview went okay, and he did, actually. And then he signed his book for me afterwards, and I got a photograph, and it's one of the, just looking at it there, it's one of the, it's one for the grandchildren, even if they're not into Metallica, So I was really thrilled. It was one of the highlights of my professional life to do this.
They say you should never meet your heroes. I don't think you'd agree with that.
No, I wouldn't. And, absolutely not. I mean, I think Kirk is a great guy. I don't just admire him as a guitar player. I mean, I think he's a good guy. He had a very difficult upbringing. His father was quite violent. His mother brought him up, really. He had to learn the guitar from scratch. He had to work in Burger King to get his first amplifier, and so on and so forth. And it's the same with James Hetfield. These guys weren't nepo babies. They came up the hard way, and they got involved in the genre of music that they just love, but they weren't into it for the money, because there didn't appear to be any money in thrash metal when it started. But obviously they've transcended all of that now. So I'm just delighted to have met them, and Rob Trujillo is a great guy as well. He's quite funny, and but they don't live on the same sort of planet as the rest of us. I mean, there's such an entourage with them everywhere they go, So, but it was a real highlight for me, I have to say.
So, can we expect a few Metallica riffs? Will I tell Tommy to put a couple of Metallica songs into the repertoire in Darky Kelly's next time you're down?
I would love to. Do you know, I can play Nothing Else Matters because it's easy, and I can do sort of a version of what's that song? The Unforgiven. The problem, what I would really love to do, it's to me, it's the holy grail of heavy metal, is to be able to play Master of Puppets from start to finish. But guitar solo completely defeats me. It's he's so technically good that it's very hard to reproduce that. But look, tell Tommy we'll have some Metallica the next time.
Yeah, when you get back to Spain now, we will organise that.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
I was going to say Ronan's a very accomplished guitarist. He plays along with us some nights in Darky Kelly's in Dublin.
Well, I'm not Kirk Hammett though.
No, well, and he's got his own band with Hugh Green as well, haven't you? What's the name of the band that you have?
Crush. And Crush. I would recommend to your followers out there to follow Hugh Green on Spotify. He's a wonderful songwriter, and he's bringing out a new album later on this year, and there's some great tracks on it.
He's over the World Cup at the moment, isn't he?
No, he's Scottish, so he's over for the first game.
Oh, right, okay. So he's back.
And that was as good as it got for Scotland.
Yeah. So listen, Ronan, we're going to finish it there. I think the weather's just about to close in where I am, so I'm going to make a retreat. Listen, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you, and enjoy the holiday. And we'll talk.
I'll do my best. You
get back. Thank you, Ronan.
Okay, thanks very much, Philip. See you now.
Good night. See you soon.
Bye now.